Okay, so ready to dive into budgeting. I know it's maybe not the most exciting topic,
Right.
but what if I told you it's not about restriction? It's about getting what you really want.
Okay.
Think of it like this. You wouldn't go on a road trip without a map, could you?
True.
And that's kind of what we're doing in this deep dive.
Okay.
We're going to be using this guide called How to Create a Simple Budget and Stick to It.
Right.
And it's all about making that financial roadmap so you can reach your goals.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to figure out why budgeting is important and how you can make your money work for you.
I think a lot of people think of budgeting as a negative thing.
Yeah.
Like it's going to hold them back.
Totally.
But this guide really stresses that it's about clarity and control.
Yeah.
It helps you understand where your money's going.
Right.
So you can make smart decisions.
And speaking of smart decisions,
Mm-hmm.
have you heard of that idea of paying yourself first?
I have.
It sounds kind of weird, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
But the guide talks about how much of a difference this can make. It's like if you were to book a vacation way in advance,
Right.
you've got that trip locked in.
It's there. It's planned.
Exactly.
Right.
And that's kind of like paying yourself first. You're putting aside that money for your goals.
Yeah. You're prioritizing it.
Exactly. And that can actually be really motivating.
Definitely, because you can see it, right?
Yeah, it's not just an idea anymore.
It's like, this is happening.
Yeah, it's real. So it's not about cutting back on everything.
Right.
It's more about choosing where you want your money to go.
Making conscious decisions.
And to do that, we got to start with looking at our spending habits.
Yeah.
Now, I'm sure you've seen your bank statements,
Oh,
your
okay.
credit card bills, all that fun stuff.
Of course.
But the guide says it's so important to really pay attention to them
Yeah, to really dig in.
because they show us where our money's actually going.
Exactly. They can reveal those spending patterns that we might not even realize we have.
It's like, wait, I spent how much on what?
Yeah, like those daily coffees add up.
Oh,
Or online shopping can be a slippery slope.
the internet makes it too easy sometimes.
It really does.
But once you know where your money's going, you can start making changes.
It's about being intentional, right?
Exactly. And the guide breaks down spending into two types.
Oh, yeah.
Fixed expenses,
Right.
like rent and bills.
Yep, those unavoidable ones.
And then variable expenses,
things you have a little more control over.
like groceries, entertainment, shopping.
Exactly.
So you can see where you might be able to cut back a little.
Maybe you can find a cheaper phone plan.
Or try cooking at home more.
Yeah, exactly.
And that can free up money for things that are important to you.
It's all about making your money work for you.
That's the goal, right?
Exactly.
But how do we actually do that?
Well, that's where budgeting methods come in.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of those.
Have you heard of the 50-30-20 rule?
I think so, yeah.
So basically, it's 50% of your income towards needs,
Okay,
30% for wants, and 20% for savings and debt repayment.
that makes sense.
It's a really good starting point, especially because it's easy to understand.
Yeah, simple is good.
But if you want to be even more in control,
Okay,
there's this thing called zero-based budgeting.
what is that?
It's where you give every single dollar a job.
So you know exactly where it's all going.
Yeah, no more mystery money at the end of the month.
I like it.
And then there's the envelope system, which is great if you're more of a visual person.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that one.
You use different envelopes for different categories.
It's like groceries and entertainment.
Yeah, exactly.
So you can physically see how much money you have left.
It's really helpful for those areas where you tend to overspend.
That's smart because then once it's gone, it's gone.
Exactly. It's a good visual reminder.
That's a good way to put it, the visual reminder.
Yeah.
It's like you're giving each spending category its own little budget.
Yeah, exactly.
And speaking of sticking to a budget, that's usually the hardest part, right?
It can be. The guide talks about how life happens.
Yeah, stuff comes up.
Unexpected expenses pop up those tempting sales.
Oh, tell me about it.
But it's about setting yourself up for success.
So how do we do that?
Well, one of the best ways is automation.
Okay. I like the sound of that already.
Right. It takes a lot of the effort out of it.
So instead of having to remember to transfer money every month,
Exactly.
you can just set it and forget it.
Precisely. You can set up automatic transfers for your savings, for your bills,
Oh, that's a good idea.
even for debt repayments.
So you're less tempted to spend that money elsewhere.
Exactly, because it's already spoken for.
Like it's on autopilot.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm sold. But what about those impulse purchases? You know, the ones
We've all been
you're
there.
scrolling online at 2 a.m. and boom!
Add to cart.
Exactly.
The guide actually has a good tip for that.
Okay, what is it?
The 24-hour rule.
24-hour rule.
Yeah, basically, whenever you're about to buy something that's not essential,
Okay,
you wait 24 hours.
just wait.
Just wait. Give yourself a cooling off period.
That's actually really smart.
Right. Because a lot of the time that urge to buy goes away.
Yeah, you realize you don't actually need it.
Exactly.
And if you're still thinking about it after 24 hours,
And it fits in your budget, of course.
right, then you can go for it.
Exactly. It takes away that impulse.
Okay, I like it. Now let's talk about those areas where we tend to overspend.
Everyone has them.
Mine's definitely online shopping.
Yeah, online shopping is dangerous.
So easy to get carried away.
It is, and the guide recommends the envelope system for this.
Oh, yeah, we were talking about that earlier.
Right, so you'd have a separate envelope for online shopping,
Okay,
and you put a certain amount of cash in there at the beginning of the month.
so once it's gone, it's gone.
Exactly. No more online shopping until next month.
That would definitely make me think twice.
Right, makes it more real.
It's like, do I really want to spend my last $20 in this envelope on this?
Exactly. It's about creating those boundaries.
So you're not constantly checking your bank account and panicking.
Yeah, exactly.
But the guide also stresses that budgeting isn't about being perfect.
No, it's not about being perfect.
Because, let's be real, we're going to mess up sometimes.
We all do. It's about progress, not perfection.
I like that. Progress, not perfection.
Right, so if you overspend 1 month,
Okay.
it's not the end of the world.
Don't beat yourself up about it.
Exactly. Just figure out what happened, adjust if you need to, and move on.
So it's a learning experience.
Precisely. It's about figuring out what works for you.
Because everyone's different.
Exactly. And for those who are ready to take it to the next level,
Okay, tell me more.
the guide talks about some advanced techniques,
Oh, this sounds interesting.
like zero-based budgeting, which we mentioned before.
Right, where every dollar has a jot.
Exactly. But there's also something called value-based budgeting.
Value-based budgeting, what's that?
So it's all about aligning your spending with your values.
Okay, so like if someone values experiences,
Exactly.
they might spend more on travel.
And less on material things.
Right, it's about making your money reflect what's important to you.
Exactly.
Okay, I love that.
Hmm.
And we can't forget about technology.
Right? Technology can be a huge help with budgeting.
There are so many apps out there now.
There are tons. Like YNAB Mint Personal Capital.
I've heard of those.
They can track your expenses, remind you about bills.
Even help you set financial goals.
Exactly. They make it so much easier.
It's like having a personal finance assistant in your pocket.
That's a good way to put it.
But the guide goes even deeper than that.
Oh, yeah.
It talks about the psychology of money.
Now that's interesting.
Like, have you heard of delayed gratification?
I have, but I feel like I need a refresher.
Basically, it's the ability to resist something you want now
Okay.
for something better later.
Like saving up for a big purchase instead of buying a bunch of little things.
Exactly.
Got it.
It's about playing the long game with your finances.
Makes sense. And it takes discipline.
It does, but it's worth it.
Absolutely. When you see those long-term rewards.
Exactly. And that takes us to another interesting money psychology thing.
What's that?
It's called loss aversion.
Loss aversion.
Okay. The guide says it's like we feel the pain of losing money more.
Then the joy of gaining it.
Yeah, exactly.
Ah,
Isn't that kind of wild?
it is. It's like we're hardwired to avoid losses.
And that can mess with our financial decisions.
Totally. Like sometimes we hold on to investments that aren't doing well,
Just because we don't want to sell at a loss.
even if it might be the smarter move.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how do we get past that fear of loss?
Well, the guide says it's all about perspective.
Okay, how so?
Instead of thinking about saving as giving something up,
Right.
we should think about it as gaining something.
Like gaining financial security.
Exactly. Or gaining the ability to achieve our goals.
Flipping the script in our minds.
I like that, flipping the script.
And speaking of changes, our financial needs change throughout our lives.
Oh, absolutely. The guide talks about that too.
Yeah, it breaks down those different life stages.
Like when you're just starting out.
Right, like a recent graduate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're probably worried about paying off student loans,
Building an emergency fund, maybe.
right? Your priorities are different then.
Then say someone who's further along in their career.
Exactly. They might be thinking about buying a house,
Saving for their kids' education.
investing more for retirement.
It's like this whole journey.
It is. And the guide helps you navigate it.
Yeah, it's like having a financial roadmap for every stage of life.
Exactly.
But it's not just our personal lives that affect our finances.
No, notice the whole outside world too.
Exactly. Like the economy.
Inflation, interest rates, all that fun stuff.
The guide mentions those too,
Yeah, it says it's important to stay informed.
because those things can impact our budgets.
Absolutely. Like if inflation is high,
We might need to adjust our spending.
or find ways to make our savings grow faster.
It's about being flexible.
Exactly. Adapting to the changing financial climate.
And who knows what the future holds for budgeting.
Right. Technology is always changing.
The guide actually talks about some cool trends,
Oh, yeah. Like what?
like artificial intelligence.
AI for budgeting.
Yeah. Imagine having an AI assistant that helps you make financial decisions.
That would be pretty cool.
Right.
It's like having a personal finance expert available 24/7.
Exactly.
The future of budgeting sounds exciting.
It does. But no matter what tools we use,
The most important thing is that we're taking control.
exactly. This whole deep dive has been about that,
About understanding our money
making it work for us.
and achieving our financial goals.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So to wrap things up,
Yes, let's recap.
we talked about figuring out our spending habits,
Finding the right budgeting method,
automating our finances.
and even some of the psychology behind our money decisions.
We covered a lot of ground.
We did.
But the biggest takeaway for me
What's that?
is that budgeting isn't about restriction.
It's about freedom
Exactly. It's about having the power to make choices
that align with our values.
and achieve our goals.
Well said.
It's been great diving into this guide with you.
Likewise. Always a pleasure talking about personal finance.
And to our listeners out there, we'd love to hear from you.
Yes. What resonated with you?
What are your budgeting goals?
Share your thoughts with us.
Until next time, happy budgeting, everyone.